Are you ready for a family favorite recipe? Well, come on along. Let me show you this week's family favorite recipe. So let's get cooking. Hello, family and friends. I'm Susan, and welcome to my home. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. It's Sunday supper time again, and tonight I'm going to be doing some beef stew in the crock pot, a squash casserole, and some Mandy's green beans. So let me get this ponytail up and come on along. Let's get to cooking. And we're going to start this Sunday supper Sunday morning. We are going to put this is a London broil actually. We're going to put this piece of meat in the crock pot. I'm going to cut it up into sections and then put it in the crock pot along with 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup and 4 beef bouillons along with 1 Lipton onion soup mix. And that is how I make my beef stew. You could add vegetables to it if you wanted to. I'm going to make some mashed potatoes to go with it and some squash casserole or possibly some rice instead of the mashed potatoes. Not sure quite yet, but I usually do not put the vegetables in with the stew. So let me go ahead and get this cut up and get started on putting everything in the crock pot. Now, whenever I cut my stew meat up, I usually get whatever big cut of meat that I can. And you saw it was on sale. You know that's the way I like to buy my meat, on sale. And then I basically cut it into about 1-inch sections. It makes it easier to cook, plus all of it cooks at the same time if it is the same size. Doesn't take but a second. Nice sharp knife. And this is still a little bit frozen. It does make it easier to cut whenever it is. Now I just basically, again, eyeball until I make about 1-inch sizes. See that? And that's what size I'm going to make all of my beef, so it will cook evenly. Now that I've got all of my meat cut up, I'm going to go ahead and add it to the crock pot. And then I want to make sure that it's all evenly distributed on the bottom of the crock pot. That way they will cook around the same time. There we go. Everything's laying down on the bottom now. Now it's time to add the rest of the ingredients. And now I put in my 4 beef bouillon cubes, and I like to basically spread them out amongst the meat. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the Lipton onion soup mix. Put that over top. And the mushroom soup. 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup. And as you can see, I'm spreading it around. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and add some water up to the height of the meat. I don't want to go too much over the meat. I just want to go up till it's at the same height as the meat is, which is usually about 2 cans. There you go, 2 cans, perfectly. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of stirring on this, just to distribute the cream of mushroom soup. Because it will cook up and go everywhere here in just a little bit. And I'm going to put the top on, and we're going to let it cook. You can either let it cook for 6 to 8 hours on low or high for 4 hours. So we'll come back when I start my squash casserole here in just a little while. To go with our beef stew, I'm going to go ahead and make some cheesy squash casserole, of course, my way. I have a basic recipe that I will go by, but I will tweak it the way I want to tweak it. So I'm going to be adding some chicken stuffing, some cream of chicken soup, which I accidentally opened a minute ago, some onions and some squash, and a few other things. So let's come along while I make this cheesy squash casserole. I'm going to go ahead and chop up 4 squash. It calls for 6 medium squash. I got 4 decently sized ones and 1 nice large Vidalia onion. And then we'll get ready to put it all together. And I've got the squash and the onions cut up, and now I'm going to put them all in this glass container and put them in the microwave and let them cook in the microwave until they get completely cooked before I add the rest of the ingredients. And that is a good heaping bunch of stuff in the container here. Once it cooks down, it will decrease in size. Now I'm going to put a whole bunch of salt and pepper on it. And basically stir it up with my hands as best I can. And yeah, I got stuff falling out, but that's okay. Counter's clean. We'll do another load of salt and pepper. Try to diversify up these onions. Now I'm basically going to do these onions and squash like I do my onion and squash in the microwave. That way they get nice and cooked, and then I can add them to everything else. Not have to worry about them cooking. They'll already be completely done. Alright. Now I'm going to add a little bit of water to the bottom. So that way we get about maybe half an inch or so on the bottom, completely watered up. And now I'm going to add some butter. I do 4 tablespoons of butter, and I put them at what I call north, south, east, and west. That way that all of the squash will have a little bit of butter on it. And then it's time to put the lid on. And I'm going to put it in the microwave for 8 minutes to begin, and then I'll stir it and do it another 8 and another 8. And then it'll be time to add the rest of the ingredients and make the squash casserole. I have actually cooked the squash and the onions in the microwave 3 times now on 8 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and add them into my container to add the rest of the ingredients. See how nicely cooked those are? Alright, see if I can get the rest of it out here. Alright, I'm going to add the moist, wet ingredients first. I'm going to add a half cup of sour cream, which I'm using Daisy sour cream. I'm just going to use the rest of it that I've got in my container. I'm going to put in a can of cream and chicken soup. Half cup Parmesan cheese. I'm going to add in, it calls for 1 cup of cheddar, and you know me, I'll do Velveeta instead of cheddar any day. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 slices of Velveeta that I've cut up into little blocks. Alright, go ahead and mix this around a little bit so I can let that Velveeta cheese be melted in. And the sour cream combine. Now I'm going to do about a cup of mozzarella is what it calls for. Okay. And I'm going to let it start melting. Melting really well together right now. I'm going to go ahead and add in the packet of chicken stovetop stuffing. And then mix all of it together. And I just want to basically mix all that stuffing to where all the juices get incorporated into the stuffing itself. Now, that is ready to put in the container. And as soon as it hits 350, we're going to put it in the oven for about 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and get it into the container. Container I actually used in the microwave. I'm going to go ahead and pour it all in. See, it fits nicely. Get all the ingredients in and mush it down. Now, as soon as the oven turns on 350, we'll put it in for 30 minutes. I'm gonna make some Mandy's green beans real quick. I'm gonna put, I've got 3 pieces of bacon right here. I'm gonna go ahead and put them into the pot to fry up. Go ahead and put everything in. I'm gonna add a dab of butter into the bottom of the pot, just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. And gonna let this cook up. And whenever this is finished cooking up, then I'll add the rest of the ingredients for the Mandy's green beans. And the bacon is done now. I'm gonna go ahead and add in the 2 cups of chicken broth, which of course I use the chicken bouillon. I'm gonna go ahead and add in the 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and the 2 cans of green beans. Like I said, I don't normally, she calls for the Italian green beans. I use regular because that's what I have on hand. Tablespoon of brown sugar. Now let's let this cook up. Until the beans get completely done, which I've got about 20 or 25 more minutes on the squash casserole. So I'll bring you back when all this gets complete and we're ready to plate up. And the squash casserole is done and it's ready to be divvied out into a plate. Mandy's green beans, some rice, and the beef stew is in there somewhere. So let's put it on a plate. Squash casserole, Mandy's green beans, some rice, and let's add a little bit of beef stew to the mixture. Here we go. Look at that. How good is that? A little bit of gravy on it. A little bit of juice, that is. I haven't made it into gravy. But there we go. Beef stew, green beans, and squash casserole. It's what's for supper Sunday night. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Sunday supper. Beef stew and the squash casserole were so good. You've got to try them. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We would love it if you'd become a part of our channel's family. Come back and see us again on next Friday to get another great Sunday supper meal. Until next week, have a great week. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Pinterest and ring that bell. And let our family be a part of your family.